Hello everybody, my name is Frigid Hyperion and welcome back to the Wilds of Wildemount. This will be session number 13, and today as always I have myself as Moonzik, and joining me is Lily as Windchime, Quinn as Animo, Kale as Brine, and Rocky as Edward, and Miss Emily is our lovely dungeon master. And kicking us off with
Thank
a
you.
recap this week will be Rocky. Go ahead and go for it.
So last time in the wilds of Wildemount, after investigating the bell tower and the basement of the mysterious Firewatch Island, we found that there were three, we'll say, refugees hiding within the basement of the island. It turns out that every single night, when the sun sets, hordes of unspeakable horrors coming from the sea shamble up onto the shore and pick apart the entire island as if to search for something. Among one of the people hiding under the Firewatch Island is Morley Tope, the person that we were looking for and sent after to hunt down and find as part of a bounty. After we apprehended him and kept him into our possession, the rest of the party went about, and after surviving a night under confinement within the underground hidden cellar, the entire party got their first sort of taste of what was lurking above on the surface from the sea through the night as hordes of what we presume to be undead shambled across the shore. After that, everybody, for the most part, went to the main island, settled affairs, and got certain orders of businesses settled, including retrieving Morley Tobe and dropping him off at the ship, evacuating all of the rest of the survivors. And we had a really nice dinner.
It's true.
Full of random effects. Also, I do want to put in one thing before we start officially. Retconning that while we were in Broken Bank and settling affairs, Moonsick did buy a healer's kit.
Okay.
Additionally, we are going to try a kind of new ruling system on damage that's taken. When it's over half your hit points, you get a major wound, basically. We'll get more about it there when if it comes into effect today, but basically it's just an injury table that we're going to roll on if you take more than half of your total HP worth of damage. We'll see. Alrighty. Last we left off, we we're currently all hanging about. Let me turn Pancake down just a little bit here, actually. A little too excited.
I might actually need to turn Pancake up a little bit. I'll turn him to 55.
Yes,
Never mind.
we were all around the kitchen table, enjoying a meal of Perryton heart. Had some adverse side effects for, and a good lunch of magic and nature.
Nothing
Fun
that
stuff.
will hurt us too badly.
Nothing that hurt really anybody. Just funny effects. Well, there was a chance that you all got seriously injured, but
Oh, now you tell
that's
us.
neither here nor there. That's
Nothing
neither
that
here
doesn't
nor there.
happen to us, and we have no long-term repercussions for our actions.
As we all develop an addiction for Perryton heart.
Must consume every 24 hours.
Consume.
Consume.
That's what Ukatoro was telling me to do, right? That's the thing I was supposed to consume. Well, I think historically I'm actually supposed to consume things when he tells me that, but I wasn't about to eat a dead body, so
Until the GM gives you the charm that lets you do that.
oh god.
That's a thing, by the way. It's in the D&D rulebook. There's an item that lets. Well, it's a charm filter.
Wonderful. Back on track, folks. You've just completed your meal full of giggling and magic side effects. This was not dinner, this was lunch. You guys have approximately 8 hours to prepare for the suspected siege tonight. How would you guys like to prepare?
So I'm just gonna start role playing if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
We're just at the table.
No, I don't like role playing in my role playing game.
Yeah.
Wow, what an awkward time for that to come up.
Oh no. We've been doing it so much. So did anybody figure out last night which ways they were coming in?
But I mean, I did have the alarm spell set up, and I was physically able to pinpoint the entrances that they came through when I set it up. None of them actually triggered the alarm spell for finding our underground hiding spot. So I think that was probably for the best.
That's good. So worst case scenario, we have a panic option.
What is our best case scenario? What are we trying to do? Are we just trying to kill them all outright, or are we trying to find out what they're after?
I don't know how much we could get from zombified creatures like that. I think my best case scenario would be we manage to kill them all and take very little to no damage ourselves, and are then able to mount an offensive against where we assume they're coming from.
We could dig a
But we're going to
hole.
wage war on the ocean. Is that what we're saying?
Well,
I've
there-
known many
Let's
people
go ahead
wage-
before we continue. 1 second here. Let's not run over our friends here. Lily, as Windchime, what were you saying?
We could dig a hole and make them fall into it, and then we'd have an easier time ending their lives.
That's
I like the whole idea.
is not a bad idea.
That's maybe outside the door, where the ground is softer. It will take a little bit of time. Perhaps we fill it with some of those vines from the dead assassinberry plants, so it's hard to get out of.
The only problem with digging a hole in the ground is that in front of the doors are staircases, and we can't necessarily dig in front of a staircase because that's a little too easy to get around. They could probably climb up and just go through the door.
Well, I mean, even if they are able to climb up, I don't think the hole would stop all of them. I think it would just make the first step easier. If we barricade doors and set up kill boxes, we might be able to get a little more. Wasn't there something near the main entrance? Do you know if they came through the main entrance, Rocky? Or Edward?
I most definitely do. They did actually come in from quite a significant portion there. I was thinking we could probably use the front part of the main entrance as part of setting up a particular trap so that when the majority of the forces come in from the main entrance on the top, that they would probably fall into any sort of trap that we can set up. I know for a fact that none of them seem to have been able to come through from the eastern entrance. You know, in the place where we found the Assassinberry one, I think that might also hold a particularly advantageous.
I don't see the east entrance on the map. Is that just something I forgot about?
That's the tower over
Yes,
here.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
this thing.
Well, I suppose it
Okay.
would be difficult for the zombies.
It was
to-
difficult for us to get through there, and I teleported.
I hardly
Indeed.
think that those zombies would be able to come here, but either way, I think it's probably a good option to at least.
We've got two main entrance points. One run right at the top and one right at the bottom, yes?
Well, there is also
No,
the...
there's actually three. One over here,
Yes, the barracks.
connecting to the quarters.
So no matter where we choose, precisely, some of them will get through.
That is true, although I do elect that we at least try to hold one of the forts down with an immovable, one of the entrances with the immovable rod.
I
Barricade
agree.
that so that even, bar it horizontally against the door.
Ideally, we could get them all into the main entrance. It's the most defensible location.
It
And
is
if
the most-
we put a few, if I and Moonzik and Windcharm were in there, we could cast spells without fear of repercussion.
I do agree, and I remember there is a grate on top of the main entrance that directly points down to the front door. We could potentially drop down barrels of assassinberry wine and ignite them for us. That could probably
That would
could
be a
prove
good
to be
kill
devastating.
box.
That would be very good.
It would be even better if we could figure out a way of getting most of them in there and closing the door behind them.
Ooh,
It is
I like
true.
that.
Potentially, one of us
da-da-da.
could go out there and hide in a bush or tree or something and wait for them to walk into said door and close it behind them and look for one of the... and climb up through the wine tower on the east.
If that's the case, I think said person should have at least somebody there to help them out. Probably, if I can volunteer you. And Emo, can you do protection for that? You're quite big and strong, and I feel like you're the best suited to in-person combat. Should that arise.
I mean, there's always the topic of wind chimes particular expertise in her field of combating undead. I know people of faith generally have specific abilities geared towards combating those types of creatures.
I haven't really dealt with undead before, if I'm honest.
I do not believe she was with us that day we went to that mansion. We were the only ones. Us three, Brahm and Ai were all there as well.
That is true.
What happened in the
I mean,
mansion?
that still doesn't discount people's. I mean, that still doesn't discount their abilities. They have very powerful abilities that allow them to, I believe, turn undead.
And just to answer your question, Brian, there was a mansion that we went to help one of the judges in Port Damali, some ways out of Port Damali, that became the victim of some... I don't exactly know what it was, but there were ghouls everywhere, as well as... What was it, Emily? Crusher worms?
Not exactly, but they're not crusher worms. They were
It started with C, I remember, but I can't remember.
not commander. Crikey, give me a
It
second.
wasn't champion.
Give me a second. I cannot remember.
It's not important. It's not important. We came across these worms that are just near
These are
impossible to
familiar.
kill, and but we were able to, or rather, Brom was able to lure them into a trap, and Edward set off that trap with with increasing the size of the wine puddle and introducing some flame to it. We burned them alive and dealt with the rest of the ghouls, but we didn't have any sort of holy damage to deal with them quickly.
Yeah.
Was burning alive the right words there? Given that-
Burying till death?
Hmm.
Well, either way, they're, at least I hope, of no concern anymore. But it sounds like we have more undead to deal with in this place. So back to the topic at hand.
Yes, if we could box off the both southern entrances, and only let them in through the main entrance, we'd have a very effective kill box. But, the immovable rod seems to be the only, consistent way we could barricade a door that effectively.
I mean, that's true.
Can
I mean, I
somebody
don't
think of
think we
another
would even
way
have-
of barricading one of those doors, such that they could not get through?
There was a basement of the bell tower that seemed to hold some heavy wooden objects there that could hold the doors in place. Make it harder for them to open it.
If you want, I can start conjuring servants to carry those objects around for us.
The last time we did this, we still barricaded that door and they got through. I don't think, even if we use the heaviest objects there, we can rely on it being effective enough to stop. It being effective enough to stop them completely.
Well, how about this for a sort of counterpoint? What if we try to lure them in through one of the southern entrances, and that way they wouldn't come around to the north, or hopefully not as many? We could still set up a kill box in the barracks over here, or even here in the kitchen.
I mean, it's inherently less defensible than the northern entrance, but it would be much more difficult given that the northern entrance itself is easier to set up a kill box with the archer holes peeping through it and the grate on top and the ceiling.
I think we're forgetting something else. Before we start off that kill box, we do have the roof. There are very effective points up there as well where we could cast range stuff from. If we assume they come from the south, we might be able to pick off a few of their numbers before the kill box is necessary.
I mean, personally speaking, I think the roof would provide a great tactical advantage. Also, I think possibly being able to find particular rooms like the spire itself, those rooms have inherently more defensible positions because it not only does it connect to the roof of a wide open space that we have the whole field view of to see, it also has very limited entrances.
It occurs to me, we are planning without knowing everything we can all do. Do you think it might be helpful if we are all able to share some basic ideas of our abilities and stuff, like list out what they can do? For example, I can make somebody invisible, hex somebody or
I mean, I hardly doubt that invisibility would save the whole party, although it is incredibly useful for individual members to get the drop.
yeah. Is I can also cast hex and you all know what Eldritch Blast does. Um I guess the question I have is yeah, what else can you guys do?
Well,
My question here is, why are you guys useless?
It's
What?
not that
well, in a combat standpoint, I don't believe my disguise ability will have any effect on that, but I am able to scale walls and hide within, hide within cover, sneak around. I'm able to use traps. I'm able to use 2 daggers in combat.
what traps?
Um, I haven't made anything in the way of traps, but I do have ropes, string, pittons, oil, ball bearings, things you would find with a typical rogue like myself.
Do you think you could set up some of those traps around the lower entrances?
Probably. It wouldn't hurt. Trying to remember what the heck a piton is.
Edward, what can you do?
A piton, by the way, is basically a stake that you would use for
Yeah.
climbing rocks. You'd put it in the ground or on in between 2 rocks while scaling a cliff face as like an anchor.
I see it now. Various, but not necessarily has to be used for climbing. I could set up his trap with some pittons and string, and maybe as they enter somewhere, I could, maybe some ball bearings covered in oil could rain down from them, and then we could set those on fire. Make it harder for them to move around without burning themselves.
Alright.
I mean, if we're going to be making traps, where should we locate those traps? I mean, obviously we want these traps to be more designed and geared towards weakening larger hordes rather than taking out individual people.
Well, if it could fully take out or restrain an individual, that would be still useful. Just picking down
in
the
this
numbers.
case, I think it's more about weakening a quantity of people rather than, particularly
I agree. You
diverging.
could scatter ball bearings in the kill zones to make it a little harder to move.
That is true.
If I remember correctly, I'm not the only one that has ball bearings as well.
I have some ball bearings as well.
I do too. I think also aside from ball bearings, what other traps can we think of that could probably prepare us for this particular oncoming onslaught? Aside from barricades, of course, I think we could probably take. I think I've already mentioned this several times. We could most definitely, use the assassin berry wine more as a fire trap,
We can tie a rope at ankle length so that they all trip.
That's what I was thinking of with the ball bearings trap. As a, not only as they trip over it, but that would also cause a container of some sort to throw something down upon them or on the floor in front of them, such as ball bearings. That could be particularly helpful in the main entrance.
I agree.
Where are they coming from?
I mean, yesterday I've sensed all of them coming in from all attempting to come in from all three directions. Although the majority did come from the top, I believe.
They came from the
But
north.
like on the island, are they? Do we have a
I mean, they're
sense
coming
of
from the ocean.
just straight out of the ocean?
They're crawling out of the water.
Which,
that's great.
if we know where they're coming from, which is somewhere to the south of us, that would be the closest two entrants would be the ones to the south. And they still elected to come around to the north side, at least the majority of them, which was interesting.
Perhaps it's an easier entrance point for a large number. There's not a lot of room in that area just below this room
This is true.
where we found all the bodies.
This is true. The main entrance does have bigger doors.
And it's quite a constrained place, which is giving me an idea. Do we have oil of slipperiness by any means?
I believe you're the one that held on to it.
I've got a flask full of it.
That is quite the hill coming up to the doorway right below us. If we made that surface slippery, I imagine it would be very difficult for them to escape. For them to enter from that direction.
You mean from the door right there?
From the door right below us, exactly.
And that would, if we put even some light objects, or, barrels and crates and whatnot, and put that in front of the door there, that would deter them from entering that door, and we wouldn't have to worry about it. I like that idea. That would take care of one entrance.
Sounds pretty good. What other particular plans can we set up with traps?
Depends on if we want to completely route them to the north, or if we want to let them try and come in from the south as well.
I think it's probably best if we divert all the attention possible to the north, since it's a more defensible position that would give us more opportunities to attack them before they even approach us.
And this is correct. That's what I had in mind as
So
well.
I think we should completely bar the south entrances if possible with all the resources we have at our disposal.
I agree. How would we... So we have one entrance taken care of to the south. And if... I'm not sure if...
We could also always use the movable road.
This is true as well. We could maybe set up some hay bales or whatever those cots were in the barracks and set them up and then put the movable rod there. They wouldn't be able to get in that way.
Yep.
Then all we'd have to worry about are putting down multiple traps within that entryway and just outside of it. And we'd be ready to take them all on.
I agree. However, I still want to know what everybody can do in combat. Just as much as I think we have a very good understanding of how we are going to prepare for this, I want to know what we all can do. I think it's super interesting. And you're gonna see her like take out a journal.
Well, I have a crossbow, and
I like crossbows. They're cool and interesting.
yeah, so I can shoot from the narrow windows into the passageway. I also have a mace, and I have my very friendly apple crab spiritual being who helps me out.
Did you just
Would
get
he
a...
be okay inside the quote unquote kill box?
He would totally be okay in there. He doesn't feel pain.
Can I meet him?
Animo, didn't you find a stock of crossbow bolts for Windchime to use?
Yeah, I thought that I gave it to her last session though.
Yeah, I have him.
Good.
Yeah.
That'll be very helpful in deterring this threat.
Animal, forgive me if this is racist. Do you have something from being an air genasi that you can do?
I mean, honestly, you caught me off guard by saying that it was going to be racist in the first place. If you had left that part out, then this part, next part, would be much easier to answer.
Oh, I apologize for
Just you know what, just shut up.
all right.
I can like float around and I can hold my breath endlessly, which is pretty cool.
Twinsies.
But when I get really mad, I can bite people.
I mean, what particular conditions would you have to fulfill in order to become really, really mad? I've seen you do it sometimes, and I've seen you not do it sometimes.
Have you ever heard of the Hulk?
That's my secret. I'm always angry.
You know, I knew a guy named Bruce who was always angry. Bruce the Brute.
Honestly, I don't like doing it very much, so I really only get super angry once I've been hit a lot or somebody that I care about is very injured, you know?
Okay.
It's a personal thing.
I mean, I understand.
I was worried about being insensitive myself.
I mean, I just don't want to see you succumb to battle as often as you do right now. It becomes...
What do you mean succumb to battle?
He has fallen.
I've
He's
never
good.
fallen once.
He's been... He's had me
Injured,
worried
sure.
a couple times.
But I'm
He's had me
always
worried quite
We all
often.
get injured. Remember with the harpies? I was not feeling so good after that.
Me neither.
That's not to say I don't care about you. I really hope that's not how that came across. I want you to be okay, Animal. Animal. Animal.
Mm.
Well, I mean, I could enlarge something for a particular moment. I would imagine that type of utility is amazing for holding a siege of this scale.
That gives me an idea, actually. I was wondering if perhaps, if we did go through with the ball bearing trap, if perhaps as they came out of the container. Oh no, that wouldn't quite work. I was hoping to enlarge the ball bearings as they came out, so that way they would create kind of a bludgeoning effect as they fell down.
Falling rocks?
Yes, exactly. And then
I
afterwards,
mean, I
they would
don't
be
think
close
I
enough.
would be able. It's only 8 times in size. Those ball bearings are so small. I hardly doubt that those will ever even have any sort
However,
of
how
meaning.
big is that grate? We could collect some rocks for the same fashion and effect.
I mean, I've known some sorcerers to be able to appropriate this ability for siege weapons. You know, firing cannonballs and then enlarging them into effectively the size of giant boulders, or ballista bolts out of crossbows.
Also, is that a grate right there?
Mm-hmm.
That is most definitely a
Oh.
great. I do intend on transporting the assassinberry wine we found in the eastern room, and pouring that down and igniting it when they show up from the top
But it's
entrance.
wine. Isn't that expensive?
I mean, it's still probably the.
We should maybe save it for a celebratory party.
We can save some for a party, but at least it's a good application and good use of this resource.
Also, DM, actually, how much of this board is wooden versus stone?
Most of it is flagstone, and most of the walls are brick and mortar.
Okay, so it's mostly stone, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are you guys' thoughts?
Well,
I know you guys.
if we burn them, we'll probably burn down the doors, and then they could get out of the kill zone.
I mean, if they're running away, we can probably still attack them from the snipers.
And what if they're running in?
I mean, if they burnt in the doors, they'd be running through no door, but they'd also be running through a large portion of fire. I hardly doubt that would be a favorable situation for them either way.
You're probably right.
Do you guys want to see the other floors quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're currently on the second. This is the third.
With
How?
spare tokens.
How did we get up there?
I presume through a ladder.
I mean, we can go there from the spire, can't we? There's also an exit on the top, is there not? I mean, the western spire should at least have some exit that allows people to go through to the roof.
If you're asking how to get to this location, let me take you back down.
I don't imagine we'll use it, but it's just for. Oh.
So we're gonna say there's a ladder here,
Okay.
or there's a trap door here, but no ladder to get to it. It's not a very frequently used area. Okay, and let me just get rid of these spare tokens. And then, of course, there is the fourth floor.
Which the rest of the floor, yeah.
Basically the same.
Also, are these patches of hay like where they just put like hay over and mounted down with rocks to like as temporary roofing or whatever to patch holes?
Yes. So the aging slate tiles on the roof seem to be easy to say collapse, as it just appears to be fairly rickety. And you can tell from the roof, which you'd be able to see from the top of the bell tower, that that clearly this has happened occasionally, and the hermits had basically made the made their makeshift and shady repairs. This does occasionally let light through, depending on how high the sun is, though.
Right. Potentially, could someone stand on this portion of roof, then drop down to this portion of roof right there, and then from there onto the ground?
Potentially,
Is that
depending
fall
on
damage
how
then?
athletic or dexterous they are.
I mean, would that be like fall damage?
If they miss. If you fall off, yes.
Depends
I
on
would
we should
definitely
probably
say falling
start-
off of a
depends
roof.
on what we would roll for that. If it's a dex saving throw, I could do that. If it's acrobatics or something else, someone more dexterous would be able to do that, or athletics.
With any sort of like check, if you can make a good enough argument, I would let you pick the skill that you would like.
I assume we're just looking at like a floor plan of this place.
Actually, you have the floor plan.
Ah,
Remember?
oh yeah.
Kind of. You have a floor plan. You do have a map of the island.
I mean, I would like to point out that I did grab a couple of one-time use scrolls for my backpack. I'm not sure if these could potentially be a valuable asset towards defending this position.
Hmm.
I mean, looking through it now, I think Control Water might actually be useful. Gust of Wind might also provide advantageous benefits towards, at least deterring certain enemies from walking in certain directions.
Potentially, but I was thinking to some degree that I could stand on the roof and rain down arrows on these creatures that come around the front and deal some extra damage to them before they walk in through the front door. And once they're all corralled into the front entryway, I could shut the door behind them and barricade it with something so they couldn't leave, and then run around to the east
I think we
entrance.
should probably at least start not on ground level when we start the siege. We should probably start on the second story, and then once they start making their way to the second story, we would ideally bring the fight to the roof. Given that there's a lack of entrances there, it's an easily defensible position with a wide open space and good range coverage for certain people like me. I think wide open spaces might be safer in this context, just simply on the basis that we won't be surprised, sneaked attacked, and we can also attack them from a range and they can't attack us. So having wide open range gives us full coverage of the entire range of our field of view.
Alright.
So I think we should at least try to use the first couple floors to get rid of as many as we can and bring whatever remaining stragglers onto the roof.
I agree. But I think the best chance we have is if we can prevent them from even entering from any place but the kill box. That slope that comes up, we have enough oil of slipperiness that we could maybe, and she's going to look at Windchime, dig a kind of pseudo hole, make it a little more steep, and then if we covered that in oil of slipperiness, it would be almost impossible to come up. Plus, then we barricade the door, so that once they get there, while they're on the slippery oil, they're going to have to try and force their way through.
I think that's a good suggestion, but I'm not sure we have the manpower to dig holes unless someone can magically do so.
Couldn't your servants do that?
It's not a big hole. The whole point is to
It's like a mud pit. It's like a pig pit where they get all full of slimy, muddy, like goo, and they can't touch anything because they're all slippery.
Precisely.
Okay.
Hashtag mud pit.
Hashtag.
So, here's some things that I want you guys to keep in mind. On each, if you look here, we're on the second floor. There are arrow slits all across these walls. There's the grates. There's also arrow slits over here on this side.
There's an arrow slit right here.
Yep, and whatnot. You've got this second story, like up here. That can also be a pretty good defensible position. You've got, of course, this is now open across here, right? You've got, if we move back down to the first floor, of course, we have the roof that we had previously talked about. Inside of this room, there's also arrow slits that lead their way to be able to be seen in here. And in terms of like the physical space, that's basically what you have. But you do have a huge variety of supplies and things as well. We know about, the oil slipperiness, the spell scrolls, and all of that fun stuff. Don't forget that there's plenty of supplies to try to barricade the door as well. But really, the main thing is you guys need to make decisions about what you're doing for each exit. So, we're going to start one exit at a time. Let's start with the front door. Okay? What is the plan?
Just because, we have a clear vision of what we want to do for all the other, or at least more or less the other doors, right?
Yeah.
Sure. What are we going to be doing about this door, the one into the kitchen?
Oil of slipperiness, right, as Kale suggested?
Oil of slipperiness, and when they come to that entrance, I know there is an arrow slit right there. Moonzik, or anyone with a ranged attack, could position themselves there and cast spells down upon them.
Yes, there is an arrow slit above that on the second story.
I was thinking I spent maybe an hour or maybe 2 hours to conjure servants with Unseen Servant ritually. And then, literally all of these servants, their entire purpose is to grab whatever tools they can find on the thing. I know there's a shovel up here, right? There's a shovel there. There's an axe right here.
We want to dig this area that we're going to cover in oil of slipperiness into a much steeper slope, such that, and then we'll cover the stairs and that area with oil of slipperiness, so that it'll slip and be unable.
Yeah. We're trying to get rid of this exit as an even approachable exit in the first place by just completely digging out the dirt until it's impossible to climb when it's oil of slipperiness is applied.
So you're going to basically increase it like that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know digging takes a lot of manpower, which is...
That is going to take a good deal of time, even if it is, whatever, it is going to take a bit of time, but I think you guys could do it. I'm going to say it's going to take 2 people 2 hours to rig that entrance together.
Yeah, I'm making 6 servants per hour, right?
Okay, yeah, but your servants, there is a limit to what they can do, so do consider that, right? Your servant is not equivalent to...
Yeah, a player.
A player. So
Even
while
so,
it would take a player character, 2 of them 2 hours, it could take the entire 8 hours for all of your servants to do that. You know what I'm saying?
We could have 2 people devoted to that as well as a couple servants that could help with things. Maybe an hour and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the plan for that door. What's our plan for this door?
I was thinking we probably just do a immovable rod.
With
Across it.
We would put it across this door.
across this door.
Yeah, this door. Just because if they get in and they can't get through this door, they'd have to make it out. And we can also set up maybe another miniature kill pit in this chamber here, and potentially lure lure enemies into this room
concerned.
before.
How big is the immovable rod? Because if we just bar the door with that and leave it, they might eventually break down the door around the barring. Am I muted?
No.
No.
No. I mean, we can always just barricade it with anything else we find it. You know, wood, logs, sticks, furniture.
I think
Remember, a lot of the time, it is what you're doing is you're planning on slowing them down. Given enough time, basically any barrier that you make, right, in 12 hours of beating down a door,
Right.
you know what I mean?
The
I think it's
only
less about
exception
slowing them
of
down,
that
more
is...
about thinning the crowd before we kill off whatever stragglers come in.
I will
The
say
ultimate goal.
that oil of slipperiness plan, I don't actually see a way of them getting through it. I think that one
Yeah,
was well
it's not
thought out.
Yeah. I think the approach for this is more so thinning the crowd so that we can at least, ideally kill them before they can even approach us. But, I think it's less about slowing them down and delaying the inevitable. It's more about mitigating the struggle at the end with whatever preemptive measures we can take now.
I agree. Assuming we bar that with the immovable rod, what other things could we do to essentially make it as hard as possible to deal with that door? I think the trap shouldn't be barring it more. They'll damage the door down in about the same amount of time anyway. I think we should buy time on that door by making it harder to get to the door itself. Or at least harder to break it down.
We
This
could.
position is not as defensible. I think it's more effective simply to tax the quantity of enemies coming through in this particular room than it is to delay them. Anything that we delay this door with itself is, I think personally, is more so just so that whatever is happening in this room damages them more. I was thinking probably setting more fire. Fire tends to be an incredible way to deal with larger groups of people.
Especially
If history
with,
has shown us.
especially with all of the hay cots that are in that room.
I think so too.
But it also becomes a problem of if we are unable to get through that because we want to keep it barricaded, how do we start the fire?
I mean, I can light something on fire through one of the sniper holes. We can just leave it there.
There is no sniper holes in that area.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, probably if we come from the roof, I know there are visible holes that have been patched up from the
We
ceiling.
could also leave that to last and set it aflame as we exit, placing the immovable rod there at the end.
That is true. Although personally, I do think that you could ignite inside that room from within the ceiling. I know there are poorly thatched holes in the roof that gives us a visible advantage. I feel like if I started my positioning on top of this building, I could probably ignite it from above.
That sounds like a fair plan.
And that gives you the chance to use the wine.
Or any, I have some regular oil as well that we could use for ignition. I was going to say,
there's
if they're
also the
entering
case of-
in through that southern door, we could have some rope or string go across this section here. So that way, when they trip, it creates ball bearings in the rest of that area.
I mean, if you have the capabilities of setting that up, that might actually be useful.
I've got pittons, I've got ball bearings, and I've got the oil. All I need are some buckets to set them up, and I could go to work on that as soon as we're done here.
Well, do you have any ideas for that room? I feel like if they're getting through there, you might be the first person who ends up in combat with them. If you are there
Can we
on
go
the
to
other
the
side
can
of
we
the
go to
door.
the second floor?
Oh, well,
Hold on.
let's...
Let's let him talk. Anemo?
Quinn?
Sorry, what do you want me to? I heard the last part of my name, which is Tails X. So I was very confused. Admittedly.
Animal, I was just wondering if you could be there if they get through the door we're barring with the immovable rod, if you'd feel safe in that position.
Oh, of course.
Because
No problem
it's
at all.
the most likely place they'll be coming out where we can't kill box them.
Yeah, no, I got you. Is it not coming through or something?
Can we move to the second floor?
Sure. Am I gathering this correct?
Can we change the...
Listen to what I'm saying. Is this correct? Is Anemo going to be positioned here?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the plan for this room? You said you had a plan.
I think, like, rope here between these two between these two walls
Okay.
that would trip, and maybe another right here, and one more here.
Okay.
When each of them get triggered, there are ball bearings covered in oil that fall into the next area, and they could be ignited by Edward.
And we're taking advantage of the damaged roofing and flooring, and assuming that there would be a hole up top.
Yeah, I guess Edward is positioned on the roof for this.
Although keep in mind that I believe the barracks has a roof instead of a second story, so if you were to try and get down there, you would have to jump from the third story down onto what's essentially the second.
I think so too.
And you'd then have to get back because, well, we don't want you that far offside, if you catch my meaning.
True. I was thinking it would probably be better for Anemo not to be positioned on the first. I know doorway dodging in front of tight, narrow rooms is good and all. I think we could probably delay that into another part where I think it'd be more beneficial to have him do doorway dodging.
What do you mean doorway dodging? I'm confused.
As am I.
Okay, so doorway dodging in D&D is a tactic where you basically get the tankiest member of your party to go up to a doorway and then spam the dodge action. And since enemies can't pass through enemies that are opposing them, you can basically get one person to stall in front of a doorway for a very long time.
I was not thinking that. I was thinking he'd end up fighting them as they came through until the numbers got too much and then he'd retreat.
I don't think he can take on every single member.
No, obviously not. But
he could.
They are in a very
them.
vulnerable position when they're ducking underneath a doorway like that, right?
Yeah, but it's more so just like I was thinking like you were trying to doorway dodge with him, and then we would like grill them here with AoEs if anyone had any, right? But I was thinking if we move to the second floor, there was a long corridor here that we can probably use the Gust of Wind spell just to stall them for. So you see this incredibly long corridor, right? That leads straight to the spire, right? I was thinking we could use Gust
So,
of Wind along
Just
this
so
corridor.
you're aware, this is open.
Yeah,
This is open to the roof, or like open to the air.
yeah. I was thinking. So since they need to take these stairs, right, and get up, I was thinking we can position a Gust of Wind spell from here to there, and basically stall them as they come in, right? Since it's technically it halves their movement, and they also have to make a Strength saving throw every time they even start a turn there, or be pushed back. Right? I was thinking we can use this to stall, and then at the end of it, we can have a Nemo come in this corridor and doorway dodge against this corridor. And then, the rest of us can finish them off while they come very, very slowly at us there.
Assuming that they come very, very slowly.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any spells that make anything difficult terrain, that technically cuts their movement into 1/4, which makes it even better, because then we can spam ranged spells or attacks from over here, right? Like from standing here, if we cause the wind to originate from here, right? We can spam ranged spells as they're moving 1/4 speed towards us, and that would give us several turns of, shooting things down a narrow hallway, right? That's my thought, at least, with the Gust of Wind spell. I'm not sure if it's effective or if it's like a poor use of the spell, but I think that might be a very good resourceful way to take advantage of the Gust of Wind, because this hallway is perfectly proportioned for Gust of Wind. It's exactly 10 feet wide, which is how the spell specifies it. 60 feet long, I'm pretty sure Gust of Wind can cover this and stall for a large portion of the battle.
I agree with the stalling idea. However, I do not think the dodge stalling is the right way of going about it.
I would have to
Plus,
agree.
The hallways are 10 feet wide.
Yeah, they are 10
They
feet.
Gust of
can't-
Wind is 10 feet wide.
Yeah,
Gust
but
of Wind is 10 feet wide.
you can't stall a 10-foot wide area.
Right.
I mean, when I'm saying stalling, I mean, Gust of Wind is cutting their movement, and then
I know,
because
yeah,
the
you were
movement
talking
is-
about doorway stalling. I've never heard that before, but
You've never
you can't
heard of
place
doorway
it. You can't place a Nemo there because it's too wide of an area.
Yeah, I was
They can
thinking
go
maybe
around
this
him.
doorway, or this doorway, or this doorway, right?
Okay, so we'll put a pause on that. Let people think about it. Are we going to be doing anything to the east entrance?
Aside from pulling the rope up, I don't think so.
Pulling any rope ladders up?
Taking the
No.
ladder away from the entrance. Yeah.
Yeah, just make sure. That was hard enough for us to get up, and they didn't come up last time we tried anyway.
I mean, yeah, basically.
Alrighty, so pulling that up so that's not available to them.
Yeah.
And then the front, last
Yeah.
area is the front.
So, can we all move the assassinberry wine up here next to the grates so that somebody, whoever is designated with keeping charge of the front entrance, can pour this down and throw a torch down or something, right?
Yeah.
Dropping a torch through the grates,
So we're gonna put a couple of barrels of wine. Let me just check to see how many there are.
Yeah.
I think there's 4. Four barrels of wine. Okay. Alrighty.
We were also going to obviously bar the second door as effectively as we could and position ourselves inside the kill box. Essentially, we want to kill as many of them who try and come through there as possible.
So we are barring.
This one.
Okay, so we're gonna be barring this door. Correct? Oops.
Mm-hmm.
Barring this door, and then here is where you guys are talking about you're going to be placed.
Wind chime
Yeah, wind chime.
and brine.
Okay.
If it's okay, do you mind if we move like 1 or 2 barrels to the roof up here so that we can spill some, whenever they slip and fall, we can just pour the wine and set them on fire down here as well.
There's already oil that can be set aflame.
Also,
Right. Yeah.
Also, I doubt that roof is strong enough to hold in that scenario.
Okay.
Like the whole roof, or just like the damaged portions?
I remember we had 2 oils of slipperiness, right? We had more than one. Right?
I think we had a flask and then another vial, I think. Or maybe were there 2 flasks? Because I have a flask.
There's a flask and a vial.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to, for the second floor, remember how I was going to use the gust of wind down the hallway? We could combine that with one of
Okay,
the.
so there is an issue that you haven't considered yet. You're saying that you're going to be here up on top to light that area on fire,
Yeah.
right? You can't be in 2 places at once.
I mean,
right?
that's the thing about the spell scroll. You can give it to someone else, right? I'm not doing it, but somebody can activate that. In fact, I
Right.
don't think I should be the one to activate it because I need to use my concentration, and gust of wind is a concentration. So, preferably one of the non-casters should be the ones doing that because they can concentrate while I concentrate on something. Right?
So exactly Moonzik, actually, because you can't concentrate on spells as a barbarian raging.
Additionally, Moonzik is already said to be on the roof.
I was going to be right here.
Yeah.
Right where?
Right here on the 2nd story.
Right.
Second story.
Yes.
Exactly. At that
Okay.
position.
Okay.
So I guess you can
Also,
add
those in the
spell
kill
scroll.
box won't actually start in the kill box because the longest route to take is to the front entrance. So we can spend a little bit of time shooting things off from the roof.
In 2nd
Yeah.
story, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Brine or Windchime actually could be here. I think one person could be on here, on top with the barrels. The other person could be underneath this trapdoor here, firing into the kill chamber. And then after they come through, that's when you give the signal for everybody to basically Brine and Windchime, those 2 partnered up, right, shooting crossbow bolts or eldritch blasts. Whenever they break through this door, you guys can dash all the way down this hallway, up this spire, and then after that, Moonzik can activate the spell when everyone is safe, right? Everyone is free to come up here, and then after they make it up here, you can activate the spell, and then we can move up to the next story and stall before they come up, right? That's my thought, at least.
Which room are we moving up to?
I mean, this one, right?
Okay. So what you're saying is Brine and Windchime up in this area until they breach, and
Yeah.
then go down.
Yeah, and then go down to where Moonzik is, and then Moonzik will cast Gust
Or-
of Wind. Yeah.
Down. Oh, so we're not going down the trapdoor.
We are going down
one
the
of- one
trapdoor.
person's down the trapdoor.
Edward, the plan is that we start with on the roof until such time as they get close to the front door.
Yeah.
Maybe using an alarm spell or something?
I mean, there's sniper holes here, like all across this wall. You can start inside the building, not on the roof, and still attack from the outside.
Right, but we'd like to maximize our usefulness. So we start up there, fire off a few bolts, and then run over to get in there. Does that make sense?
That's true. How long would that take to run down all the way from here to there? From on top on the roof.
I'm guessing 2 or 3 turns if if whoever was dashed.
I mean,
Yeah.
if possible, what we could do is knock a hole in the ceiling, put the ladder that we got from right here, all the way back here.
Why?
Mm.
There's a trap door.
The trapdoor leads to the story below that, does it not?
Yes!
So it's
That's
180
where the
feet,
kill box is. That's where we want
Dashing.
to be.
dashing 3
3
rounds.
turns.
So it takes you 18 seconds, 3 rounds.
That's not that long.
I mean, that is 6 attacks each.
Except we won't. What we're betting on is it'll take them longer than 3 rounds to walk around the entire building.
Yeah, that's true.
Essentially, this way we won't be useless during that starting period.
Enough.
Okay.
I think we can all agree. Final battle, we start end up in the roof, right? We all gather on the roof once they overrun.
You mean the bell tower, right?
Yeah, sorry, the
Bell
bell
tower.
tower. Yeah, bell
Yeah.
tower.
If your position is overwhelmed, retreat to the bell tower. Don't let yourself get cut off from that position. When the kill box stops working, when they make it through that, Animal, you should probably retreat from your position as they could overwhelm you from that direction. And we should probably escape the kill box as they will be coming up the stairs. Speaking of which,
Do you think we
as
can
soon
also
as we get
fly?
up the stairs, we should pour
Oil here?
oil of slipperiness down.
I think we should put it right here. This is the position where where the stairs and the doors converge. If we have gust of wind and oil of slipperiness, they'd be moving 1/4 here. They'd have a chance to fall prone and be knocked back simultaneously. With the gust of wind and the oil at the same time.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So we have an idea of what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
because they have to come up here in order to reach the second story, right?
Yep.
With that being said, how do we defend the bell tower's first story entrance?
We can just stand up on the stairs and shoot down at them, because, there are railings on the stairs.
Yeah.
And have someone...
And if we pour oil of slipperiness down, it's a defensible position for at least a little bit.
True.
Going up slippery stairs sounds a whole lot harder than just difficult terrain.
That is true. Hmm.
Okay. Does everybody know what their plan is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless
Alrighty. Give me just one moment. Here's the question for you all. Would you rather take a break now, early, or break late after?
Now early. I need water and I need.
So then we'll go ahead and go to a break, and when we come back, we'll start with the siege.
Sounds
Do you
good.
want
Actually,
20 or 30 minutes?
30 minutes just so I have actually enough time to make the pizza I'm planning on making.
Okay.
And that's exactly it.
So maybe
How does everybody else feel?
that's fine.
Sounds good.
So 6:55, we'll all reconvene.
Sounds
Well,
good. All right, cutting the video here. We'll see you for part 2 shortly.